na 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 na. Oh na 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 na. Oh na 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 na. Oh na 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 na.
Sorry mama, but I had to do it. Equality is still missing like an absent student. The black movement, tired of getting these to our necks. Fed up with the walls and tired of putting our backs to it. So I'ma be the voice for my kids. Since they can't do it, I'ma make the choice for my kids and tell them this is deeper than rap. I ain't no preacher, just a speaker with facts. We black gold, we just leap from the cracks. Unarmed, I should leap unharmed. If not, then my hive gon' swarm. How many wives gon' mourn? How much longer we survive in this storm? Tired of marching and protesting and writing these songs. But the whole mood is different now. Standing up, we sitting down. We talk about the issues, is you getting in or getting out? Yeah, see we just tired of being patient. We just need love and ventilation.
I tried to be silent, hard to be non-violent. I swear to God, I tried it. I tried to speak and I fight it, 'cause I can't breathe. No, I can't breathe. I said I can't breathe. No, I can't breathe. I said
We've been out here running and was feeling like it's hell's race. I ain't never seen a cop car and said I felt safe. And I know I ain't alone. They tell us that they serve and protect, then put a knee against the curb on our necks. You act like you don't see a man bleed and say that he can't breathe. Them unheard voices gon' turn to a stampede. I've seen people screaming about the looting and riots, but when the cops come and shoot us, be quiet. And so we need to hear their names in the streets for justice, a lack of. And all them cops need to be tried by a black judge and a black jury. 'Cause them badges come with entitlement, killing us in the street and then getting less time than Michael Vick. We got to prevail. At times being black in America is like being a cop that's locked in a jail with the people that he arrested. You won't understand. And if you don't know where you stand, then we know where you stand.
I tried to be silent.
Oh man. Oh man. Oh man. Again.
Man, shout out to the home team, me, Shay, Rico, Raymond, and my guy Will Geis with the vocals. Man, Denver's own doing it so well. Over 26,000 views, and I'm so proud right here from the hometown.
That's hot.
That's hot, right?
I mean,
Yeah.
next we got to show them the video. The video's hot.
The video's hot. I'm proud of them.
The video's
hot. And if
hot.
you say there's no talent in Colorado, you are telling a lie, because that's proof right there.
You know, Shay, that's what I always talk about. Why don't we just support our own?
Wouldn't that be great?
Imagine that.
Imagine that.
That's what we do.
That's what we do right here. Right, exactly. But now you have a chance to support your very own. Thank you for tuning into the Free Think Zone on this Free Think Friday. I'm your girl Shay J with the Brother Jeff Network. Super excited to be here with you on this Friday. Of course, you know what time it is. Share this out on your networks right now. Share it out. Press like. Let's have engagement. It's so important that we support independent black media. Because of you, we're here. Go to brotherjeff.com. Make any amount of donation. Best Nation donation. Let's keep this show up and going, up and running, and let's keep it powered by the people. So thank you guys for tuning in again. I'm excited to be here on Friday. There's been a lot going on in our city, in our state, and in our nation. But we are still here, so let's get it going. You know I got to start off with the trigger alert.
Hit them.
Trigger, trigger, trigger. This is the show that triggers people because you have entered a free think zone. If you're not willing to be exposed to other points of views, tune out now and don't read the comments. You have been warned. Boom, boom, boom.
Boom.
Trigger.
It's been.
There y'all go. Y'all been warned.
You chilling with Phoenix though today. You chilling with Phoenix today. This is like
It's like
this is
a family reunion. Like, what?
Yes.
This feels good. I think it's only it's amazing living in your purpose and being able to do what you do, but being able to connect with your people while we're in our purpose, while we're doing our thing, it's no greater blessing. And I'm so proud. I always think about my core group of friends, and anybody that knows me, Phoenix is in my core group. And the beautiful thing is just to see everybody thriving and in the midst of the pandemic still moving forward, and not just for themselves selfishly, but for the culture. And so to see this come full circle and us able to help each other in position and really talk about the things that affect us is a beautiful thing. So for those of you just now tuning in and you're like, hey, sounds great, but who's this? What's going on? Who is she? Let me know. Let me let you know.
Right.
She's an award-winning business leader, communication strategist, and social entrepreneur. She is the founder of the Phoenix Effect, a PR firm that works with social leaders, global humanitarians, celebs, and nonprofits. One of my favorite things about her is that for a prerequisite of working with her, you have to make sure that your purpose work pushes the human collective forward. Did you hear that? Your personal work has to push the human collective forward. Yeah. She is now the VP of Communications for Acrom's. Is that the name?
Acroma.
Acroma. I'm like, I know it's not acronyms. Acroma. And she is one of my best friends. Welcome, Miss Phoenix Jackson.
A whole me?
I'm so proud of you and the work you've done. And people there's way too much to list. If I went down the list of all the amazing things, if you haven't got her book, Spirit of Business, grab her book. It's still on Amazon. You can go ahead and cop the book. Aww. But the development of what you've done and what you've brought to the table, and even in so many times people see you in these large spaces. But what I love most is you're on the stage one moment with Dr. Tierra and working with the Oprah tour, and then you're on a stage right here in Colorado and making sure that things are moving for our community and for our culture. So thank you for the commitment, and thank you for making sure you came right back here to Black Independent Media and made sure we had that conversation and give our people the knowledge.
We got to snatch our edges back.
There we go.
Knowledge. We got to snatch everybody's edges back and give the knowledge. So I am here. And thank you for the beautiful introduction. I love you.
I'm so excited.
And not just because you just be at my house,
but you still love me
and loving on me. I love you of all spaces too. You have been such a voice locally and nationally as well. And I dote over you all the time. Don't get me teary-eyed up here.
Thank you.
But I'm just so proud of you too, and I'm proud of what you and Jeff have put together here, and the fact that you guys are giving a voice in a marginalized space. It's not many of us in Colorado. We're raisins in a bowl of rice,
right?
And you guys are putting us all together and making sure that things are getting done. So
I
love that, and I appreciate that.
That's what it's all about right here in the Free Think Zone. And if you're saying, what are we going to tackle today? Because if I sit with Phoenix, if you guys know, we could talk for hours about so many things. Yeah. But today I think this conversation is so relevant and necessary with the recent sweeping of our unhoused neighbors, with evictions at the all-time high because of the effects of the pandemic, with the significant death rate of our people, the Black and indigenous people, dying at a higher rate. Yeah. With just the climate right now, I think that is super important because all these things have the one thing in common, which is the housing crisis. It's all connected to this housing crisis, and I think if we talk about the current, we have to address the past, and then we have to talk about the future, and that's what it's about, connecting you not only to resources, but talking about the things that have really been systematic, and then where can we go in the future and what this looks like. And I think at this time, as we were watching, I don't know if you've seen any of the footage, I shared some of the footage of the unhoused neighbors being moved out of their homes, and as people started having the conversation, it's such a layered conversation. It is. And it's not an easy, quick fix. It's not a one thing. It's not a every homeless person out there just wants to be on drugs and wants to be homeless. It's not a everyone doesn't want to go to the shelter. It's not a everyone will accept help. I mean, there's so many layers to this.
Mental health. All kind of things are tied into it. Yeah.
And then there's some people that simply go to work every day and still can't afford to live in this climate.
The working poor is what we call them.
The working poor, exactly, is a real thing. And so as we look at this, the housing crisis more now than ever, I feel like we have to be informed as a community, and we also have to have solutions as a community. So as we just get into this a little bit, I want to kind of start out with the current temperature and just check in with our audience. I don't know if they know these things that are going on, but I think I want to bring them up to speed. So in the current temperature of the housing regulations, this is the peak right now of racial injustice, and we know what we're dealing with. So during the peak of racial injustice, your President Trump, who's not
my president.
Okay, not your president. That President Trump is pushing for a further entrenchment of segregated communities, now calling for the removal of the AFF regulation. And I just want to talk a little bit about what that means for our people. The AFF regulations, for those of you that don't know, it's the Fair Housing Act. It's a Fair Housing Act put in place, I think, in 1968 with Lyndon Johnson. And it was all about the redlining, the racial of covenants and homes and deeds. The law was passed really to require the solution of making sure we didn't segregate our neighborhoods across the country. With the AFF in place, it was allowed to block some things, and it also made sure that when you went in for certain grants, HUD had to make sure things were assessed the right way, and the effects of that towards the Black community are a huge effect. So when you have somebody like Trump that comes in the office and says, hey, let's get rid of that, let's just talk about what that means right now and how that affects the African American community.
Yes, so in 2015, just piggyback off of what you said, Obama created and expanded the affirmatively furthering fair housing bill. Basically, he just said, okay, we have the Fair Act, right? We have the Fair Housing Act, but what are you guys really doing? Because counties set up covenants They found a way around the law, even when the Supreme Court said, hey, guys, this isn't fair. You guys still aren't being fair.
Right.
They found ways and created a culture where even the banks, which, by the way, majority of the banks are white-owned. I think people somehow think they're just institutions, but they are private-owned.
They're private-owned banks, yes.
Yeah. And so they basically said, you know, there's these laws in place, but we don't have to, you know, do anything about it. We don't have to enforce them. And here we have today where people are having to sell grandma's house in 5 Points, in inner cities of different places, inner city of Little Rock, which is where I'm from, St. Louis, other places. They're having to sell their ancestors' homes because blacks cannot qualify for refinancing. Blacks cannot qualify to, you know, buy a secondary, a third home for investment properties. And so Obama said, hey, in 2015, we need to actually enforce this. And if you want federal money coming to your county to build up new apartment complexes, to build up these different things, you guys have to make sure you show us how you're enforcing this. Right. And of course, that's what Trump is trying to break down. Yeah. Trump is trying to say, hey, out of the guise of trying to get more votes and whatever, hey, suburban individuals, we're going to not enforce this so we can continue to build and, you know, make wealth, real estate wealth for our own, but we don't want blacks and individuals who are considered poor in your communities. Yeah. But the gag with that is the suburbs today are not predominantly white in some areas. Exactly. And they're heavily influenced by the Democratic Party. And so it's like, who are you really talking to?
Who are you talking to? You know, who you're talking about? You're hitting on so many great things. And so for those of you out there, they're like, wait, what did Trump say? There's a tweet, and I'm going to quote him directly from his tweet. Trump in his tweet, or I'm going to kind of, not directly, but I'm going to quote this in his tweet. He says, people in the suburbs will no longer have to be bothered or financially hurt by low-income housing built in the neighborhoods. Right. He said your housing prices are going up based on the market, and crime will go down. So let's get the poor people out of the way so crime can go down in your neighborhood. So when you understand how sick and how divisive this conversation piece is, and the fact that this man is tweeting this out and this is just coming right out, and it's not even being highlighted.
Shay, did you really just say in that, let's get the poor people out of the way? Like, was that a part of what, like, the words of the president of the United States? Phoenix, is that what I'm hearing? Let's get the poor people out of the way.
The rich is rich because of the poor. Right. The rich would not be rich if our capitalistic system wasn't created the way that it is, which, by the way, it keeps breaking apart, which is why we keep having these bailouts and everything. It's toppling over. And if you get rid of the poor, you're going to get rid of your supplier base. And so it's a foolish thing to say. And this is a little bit personal, but my townhome is near a low-income building. Yes. But it's not just black folks running around everywhere or Latinos. There are white families. There are white couples. There are white families with young children. So are you also talking to them too? Because who are you talking to?
And I think some people feel like they're not in the conversation when you start to realize that it's not even. Of course, we know being black, being indigenous, being brown, we're dealing with this divisiveness from his cabinet, but also just being poor. So when you're poor and you're white and you're saying "Go Trump, go," he's talking about you.
Yeah, he's not.
He's removing you as well.
And it didn't bring our property values down when they built up that. It didn't build the property values down when they built up the one across the street from there for the veterans to be there. It provided a safe haven and security. So why are you trying to take away security from the poor who are already living in a state of insecurity?
Exactly. And that's the thing when research shows that none of the property value came down, because that was, some of the people that were saying, okay, we're in these homes and these neighborhoods that we feel like the property value is going to go down if we have somebody that comes in here that doesn't make what we make and do what we make. And then when you do the research, that doesn't even support that stance.
No, it doesn't.
And so you have him really trying to say, okay, let me dismantle. He wants to dismantle anything Obama did anyway. So that's the name of the game. But this is a real crisis, because we're talking about housing and we're talking about people being displaced. And I don't think, people sometimes don't look at the big picture about what housing actually affects. Right. And so as we start thinking about like what housing affects, I go down the list and I think about education for our youth. So where you live affects the education for our youth.
Because of the taxes that are going into the schools.
There we go. Yep. It even affects graduation rates. We're looking at even the chances of being arrested from where you live. That affects where you live. Right. The view of your net worth, your income, your credit score, and even research is showing now how long you live is affected by
social determinants of health.
And now we know most of all, your chance of becoming a homeowner is affected by where you live.
Yes.
So when we talk about him saying like something about dismantling this AFF and those things. And now we look at home ownership. Since 2012, home ownership for blacks has drastically went down.
Right.
What do you think that effect is going to have on us now in 2020 when we're looking at what the climate that we're in now?
I feel like blacks keep having to start over every generation. I mean, you have discussed this in length in our own private conversations, but we keep having to start from the ground level, and some people even further back when they have to pay to bury somebody. They get you coming in, get you going out, you know? And his policies and what he's actually trying to change just sets us back even further. It still creates a space of ongoing and perpetual insecurity, making us feel like, wow, we can never really get ahead. That level of stress wears on people's spirits and bodies in a way that is unimaginable. And yes, black women in particularly, let's go to that, black women, we may be the lowest around the world at committing suicide, but we're the highest at having heart disease, right? So we're internalizing the stress of holding up the community, holding up ourselves, holding up our children, holding up our families. And he's perpetuating that by keeping us a part of an impoverished cycle. And owning a home actually, and owning homes and actually owning real estate is a way to build generational wealth, of course, because land is something that's not being made more of. Land ain't popping up on.
You're not getting new land.
It what's here is what's here. Where you can make a new TV or make a new tech firm or make a new anything else, but you cannot, recreate land. And so trying to keep individuals from that is the name of his game right now. And this is not, to be honest, just to go do a little history check, this is not new for Trump. Back in 1973, he was sued by the federal government for discriminating against blacks in New York for them renting. And his thing was, we're not renting to welfare recipients. So he placed blacks all into this bubble. And he ended up trying to countersue the government. You're not going to win trying to countersue the government. Right. But he ended up actually admitting that, or not admitting, but saying, okay, we won't discriminate anymore. Of course, they never stopped discriminating, but he never actually admitted that he was discriminating in the first place. And so he has found a way around the rhetoric and the spin and the game of all of this. And my company, Acroma, that I'm a partner with, we're trying to change the game on a private level to make sure that this stuff can be shifted. Because if we can't count on the government, we got to count on each other to actually create systems that work for us.
That's important. And before I get into Acroma and what Acroma is doing to really dismantle some of these things, I think an important part, like we say, we can't know where we're going if we don't know where we come from. So let's just look a little bit into that past and what that looks like for the systematic inequality, the displacement, the exclusion, the segregation, the redlining, all those things. Let's talk a little bit about the effects that's had on home ownership and blacks as a whole.
So black people, I mean, this is historical from the 30s up until today. If a black and a white man have the same credit score, the same financial income, the same all these things, the same amount of debt to income ratio, it's still a 20 to 50% chance that the black man will not get that loan. I mean, just think about that. Like, it's like blatant.
The same exact. So you're telling me I walk in like this on paper, and you walk in like this on paper, and we have the exact same paper, but then when you see my black face.
Yes. Or they can, do the same thing with your name, where you live. Of course, that's the form of redlining. But also single women, whether you're white, black, actually Latino, whatever, a single woman, her rates are going to be higher than a man. Although statistically, women pay off their home loans at a higher rate than men. So that's a whole nother part of the conversation. That's a whole other part of the conversation. But basically, that's a big piece of it. And every year, Black and Latinx individuals, now hear this, Black and Latinx individuals pay $500 million more in interest a year than whites. So as a whole community, we're paying $500 million more in interest.
Hold on, Phoenix. You know how we got to do the you know how we do rewind.
Wait a minute.
Some of this stuff I'm wondering, because everyone's talking about battling racism, and they're wearing Black Lives Matter apparel, etc. But when we start talking about the nuts and bolts of structural racism, and then the number you just mentioned about blacks and Latinx, can you just run that back one more time?
Yes, Black and Latinx individuals and families pay $500 million more a year in interest than whites.
Man.
So Black Lives Matter, but the black dollar matters too. That's what we need a t-shirt that says Black Dollars Matter.
Yeah.
Because we are the blood and bone, and we we run this country, and black culture is the most highly exported commodity around the world. So everyone benefits from us but us.
Yeah, that's the real life.
So, and on top of that, I'm sorry, this is gonna make some people a little sad.
That's okay.
It's gonna make people a little sad. Okay, if you bank at Wells Fargo, Chase Bank, or Bank of America, then you probably have been discriminated against if you tried to get a home loan through them. Chase is paying out $55 million right now from a fine from the government because they were found out to discriminate on blacks directly. Our fees, interest, everything. Wells Fargo, as of 2010, I mean, this was yesterday.
Right.
Think how fast a year goes by. 2010,
exactly.
They were being sued because their loan officers were like, oh, they're black. Okay, up this, up that. Like, it was clearly on paper. Now, I do have some accounts at Chase.
Yes.
I'm not going to lie. It's close to the house.
Right. It's around the corner. It's convenient.
But
I got some at Wells Fargo. I just didn't change it because, when they've been dropping them stimulus checks directly into the direct deposit.
You keep that easy thing, right?
That's where my account was. But
you don't want to get lost in the system.
I do have some credit union accounts as well, but
yes,
I don't know.
What do you do?
And the thing is, we are a little tied up still into the system.
Yeah.
But as long as you're aware that this is some of the and Bank of America has been even the most notorious in their lending discrimination. And so I think people understanding this and knowing that this is what's happening. But Denver, poor little Denver, with all the money Denver has and all the progress we have, a lot of our progress is very cosmetic.
Absolutely.
Meaning we have voted in our individuals. I love our teams of politicians who are out there doing the work. And we need cosmetic change, but we also need deeper systemic change.
Absolutely.
So Denver is in the top 5 in the country, the top 5 cities of denying black people for mortgages and refinances. We're in the top 5.
You hear that, Denver?
The disparity between blacks and whites getting home loans and refinances in Denver is in the top 5.
This is a show that triggers people because you've entered a free think zone. If you're not willing to be exposed to other points of view, tune out now and don't read the comments.
It's not even a view. This
you
is facts.
have been
warned.
We keep telling you the mile high income city and how racist Colorado is in terms of they just do it very differently.
It's subversive.
It's very subversive. And when you talk Phoenix about cosmetic
change
kind of approaches to make people feel good and clap about who they have in office and the numbers and who's doing what.
Yeah.
When you look at the numbers and you say this is the first and second most gentrified city in the country, and then the statistics that you just said around banking, I think you're painting a picture that some folks should really listen to.
Yeah, yeah, and it is very subversive. And for me, I was born in Pine Bluff, Arkansas, raised in Little Rock, Arkansas, spent some years living in Fort Campbell, Kentucky, and if somebody didn't like you, it was right there. It was right there in front of your face. Right. In Denver, moving to Denver, I noticed something very young. I noticed something a little bit different. A lot of the racism and a lot of the blockages were hidden and underneath the folds.
Absolutely.
Which is why you see things today where they won't give you a refinance on your grandmother's house in 5 points because they want you out of there because that's the quality homes. Right. If you know structural engineering, the quality homes are these brick homes that are going to be around for 200 years. They're not necessarily the homes that are faster to build, that may be cheaper.
Right, they're coming up in 5 minutes. I turn the corner and there's a whole community of homes up.
And and not to be down on those homes because we all can afford what we can afford, and so we don't ever feel bad about that. But if you still have families who own property in inner city Denver, hold on to that. Hold on to that wealth. There's a reason why gentrification is happening. There's a reason why there's a flight back into where they're closer to downtown, where they're closer to money, where they're closer to the systems versus being in the suburbs. Absolutely. But it's some big numbers. It's some big disparity. And Denver,
so much
shame
to wrap
on Denver.
Your head around when we're just thinking about this real housing crisis. For those of you just now tuning in, we're talking about the housing crisis, and we know we've seen our unhoused neighbors displaced, but we're talking too about the everyday people that want to move from renting to home ownership.
Yes.
And when I'm really looking at this system, the system undermines wealth building in communities of color. Right. Period. Point blank. There's no way we're going to have wealth buildings in communities of colors if we keep having systems like this. Phoenix, one of the quotes that I read from you, and I really resonated with me, and because we're talking about this, minorities are between half as likely to 1/5 as likely to receive a home loan. Even with similar backgrounds, of white counterparts. Where do we fix that? So when you said you stepped into this place because you've seen there was an opportunity to really find equality for our people, what does that look like with Acroma? How was that big picture, before we get down to the nitty and gritty of what Acroma does, what was that big picture about saying, we know that we have to find some way to find equity and equality in this real fight for home ownership?
So I have to tell you guys a quick story, because one of my friends, his name is Cullen, me and him lived out near Cherry Hills years ago, and he started a company called Rental Karma. And with Rental Karma, you can actually use your rent history, and like your landlord can verify it or your complex can verify it, and it will bump your credit score up 40 to 80 points. Wow. And it's a system that people are using around the country now. But I remember when we were brainstorming and talking about it, and he actually started this tech firm. Last year, he came to me and said, I have somebody who has a similar social enterprise, and you're the PR person that he needs to work with. So I sat down with this guy. His name is Yaniv Kanfi. And Yaniv is actually, he's not considered person of color just looking at him from our standpoint. He's actually of African descent. Okay. His wife is a Black American woman. He has Black children. Yes. And so when he realized, if something happens to me, my family has an uphill battle. What can I create? And because he was a former Google exec because he has a background in so many things, and he was just an intellect, he was like, I'm going to create a system where we're not having to go to the system to create change. I'm going to create a system where it's blind blending. Like, basically, when you fill out our information, we don't know your name, we don't know your race, we don't know even your current address. We know your financial information. We're going to treat you like how white people are treated when they go into the banks. Wow. And once you get approved, and once you get approved through our system, there's going to be 5 other banks in the system, not your Chases and stuff, but private banks who know that this is our aim and this is what we're getting ready to do and this is the change we're trying to make, who are going to be competing for your business. So it's going to be like you looking at NerdWallet or something, you scrolling like, ooh, 3.5%. Ooh, but they offer me less. They offer me this. Right. And it's like you get to shop. You get to pick and choose. You get to shop who you want to spend your money with in a way that you never could going to these bigger banks. And also, once you get approved and once you're like, okay, I'm taking that deal, then they know who you are. They can't rescind on anything. They can't, and they've signed contracts with us saying we're going to do the right thing.
Well, Phoenix, I got to ask you a question then with that in mind, because how much more financial, economic productivity do you think the United States of America would have if they were not so invested in racism?
Ooh, that's look, let's take the
sit back. I'm like, I know you got air, brother Jeff, but you're gonna do all that to us today.
No, that is a great question. We blacks have such a high buying power. We all know that. We have a high buying power of a small country. Right. Imagine if we were actually able to sit at the table and not be starved, but actually not just bring our resources to the table, but bring our insight, our diverse thoughts, our right brain way of thinking, and all these other things to the table. This table is going to get bigger. The money that can be created is going to be bigger. The bridges that can be created is going to be bigger. It's actually more money for them. Right. They make money off of us with us being at having this much capacity. Absolutely. Imagine how much money this country could invest and make off of us if only they invested into us the way that they invested to themselves. And so, can I quantify what the economic number would be? I cannot quantify that number. I am not an economist. However,
it would be better than what it is now.
Astronomically better. But again, they would have to get past the idea of lack. There's a spiritual thought of lack. If I give them something, I have to lose something. Right. I'm going to give up my security, my home, my car, my guns, my life. I got to give up something if I'm going to let these people eat. And you have to get past that first to realize, no, if you give them something, because of the type of people that we are, innately, we're going to multiply that.
Scarcity mentality is something they need to change, but I don't know if they're built for the change right now.
Black people are a good investment.
We are. I mean, it's just amazing. I want to tell you, Erica Reitner, she says she's curious to know if anyone has worked with Native American Bank that just opened by us. The Native Americans opened up a bank, and they're doing the thing. Have you heard of Native American Bank?
I haven't, but I've heard of one bank in Atlanta. We're looking to partner with them in the future. They're the biggest black-owned bank in the country. I would like to know about this Native bank, and it's something I found out interestingly. Is a little bit off the topic, but Native Americans own some of these buildings in downtown Denver. Right. There's a heavy Native influence that's not publicly discussed in Denver. So I would love to know more about that.
I would like to know when we're going to march on Wells Fargo Bank. Like, you know,
when that march is happening?
no, because I know that Colorado, a good portion of our investments are in Wells Fargo Bank.
Yep.
And Ross just posted, Wells Fargo just got caught putting people in forbearance without their knowledge, keeping them from refinancing. I know as a customer of Wells Fargo Bank, they were selling me and charging me for items I never signed up for.
Wow.
They got a long history of just being straight gangster.
My dad.
And like, you know, Pookie and Ray Ray ain't got nothing on Wells Fargo.
No, and that's the thing.
They're the real gangsters.
Well, and that's the thing. White collar crimes that get, 5 years of federal crime are nothing compared to the 20 years that somebody's going to get for selling that dime bag of weed in 1993. And so the biggest, and my mother said this all the time. She said some of the most intelligent people are behind bars and the biggest crooks are behind bars because they found a way to be subversive and to move and maneuver through the system.
Exactly.
So people who created the system,
it's working.
Of course, they know the keys to maneuver
and
still out of the system. And they know how not to get caught.
Yeah.
And I say this as one of my side hustles for years was that I was a closer. I was a mobile presenter. I got paid $100 to $150 an hour to go and do these refinances and these home loans and even cash deals for title companies. I did this from probably, it paid for my fitness brand. Yeah, from like 2013, 2015. It was like my little side hustle. And when I tell you that I noticed the trend of black people having higher interest, I just noticed it. Even if it was like 0.25%, I noticed everything. And when you do 300 closes and you're looking at the deals that people are making and how, man, this black family in Green Valley Ranch, they should really have like a 3.25, but they got a 3.75 based on their history. And I have access to all their data. They should not be spending this.
Right.
But Acroma didn't exist then, I didn't know if the technology existed then to actually combat this, but now it does.
If we're looking at that and we're looking at black people being behind that, how important is it to link with a private bank and to find private banks to be a part of?
For Acroma or for just being as a person of color?
As a person of color.
I mean, the private banks and even, I would say credit unions, it's to put your money in a place where somebody's going to take care of you a little bit better. Let's say you get behind in something that's a little bit of a fee. They'll take care of you. And I've seen big businesses who haven't been able to afford to pay their payroll, but they have such a relationship with their bank.
Exactly.
They've been able to go in there and say, hey, I need y'all to front this payroll for just a month, and we'll get you back. That's the type of relationship that black people need to have with their banks.
And you know what? And you hear
because we're putting our money in their pocket. Like, we're keeping our money. You work for me. And I think that's how we need to start seeing
That's how we need to walk in the bank. And I just want to emphasize that again, because that's something that Jice and I talk about so much with the Black Business Initiative. If you have a bank, which everybody should have a bank. If not, we give you suggestions about bank on and things like that, so you can get attached to a bank and not the Walmart cards and things like that. But it's so important to have a relationship with someone at your bank. You're doing yourself a disservice to hand over your money and have no type of relationship.
That's
like
true.
you said, even when I was looking at when all this pandemic was going on, I was like, okay, if things go into shits and shambles, how am I going to be able to move forward and make sure this company stays mobilized? Well, I was able to go sit down with my banker and say, now you know what I do. You know what it is. I don't know how many events I'm going to be hosting. I don't know this. I don't know that. So can you help me make some decisions?
Right.
Now, if I had no relationship with my banker, she would have been like, I don't know what you do. I don't care.
Right.
And so, I don't think people understand how important that is. So I'm telling you right now, start off today by figuring out how you can go set up an appointment and have some type of relationship with somebody in your bank.
Well, I could tell you that my wife does real estate, and she's just closed several deals with a black lender, a black buyer, a black seller. I mean, there is a black economy that can take place.
Yes.
I can tell you all I'm nervous because she just put a post and she tagged me and said, who needs a baby crib with mattress and sheets? I hope not us.
I was like, do you want to tell us something, Brother Jack? You want to let us know something?
No. Don't let me say I hope not us.
Right.
Us,
better not. Right.
Maybe who I don't know, because social media, there's a lot of new rules. I don't know how these rules are and how these announcements work and these balloons get popped and stuff pokes out. And so Phoenix, how's Mommyville? Like, because you just like Mommy World. Like, how are you?
I'm good. So, you know what? I don't. It's okay. I don't mind.
I was like, I don't know we're going to have this discussion.
I can ease
you into another discussion part.
No,
yes,
okay. Fine.
This is the free think zone, and I think before we go into this part of the conversation that I don't think we planned on, and Brother Jeff had no idea. We didn't plan on this at all. But I think this is a conversation that doesn't happen enough in our Black community, and we don't have these conversations. So sometimes you feel alone and you don't understand what it's like to have that support and to be able to have these conversations and to be able to heal. And something that Phoenix and I always talk about, a part of healing is a part of sharing our story. And
every healing starts with a conversation.
It starts with a conversation. So if you want to speak a little bit,
well, you just asked about it.
My motherhood special. So those of you that tune in, I did a Mother's Day special.
I was on the Mother's Day special.
She was like right there.
I was big and pregnant.
And
glowing.
Our lives changed a lot recently.
Yeah. So about 2 months ago, actually, my son passed away at 7 months pregnant. I had a stillbirth, and he was such a powerful soul, extremely active. So the physical reason was that he was so active in the womb that he actually tangled himself up in the umbilical cord, cut off his oxygen. It was even twisted at the base. This dude at 28 weeks was 17 and a half inches. Like he was coming in a man child. I imagine what LeBron James was probably like.
No, I've never seen him this big. I was like,
and he was huge. But the spiritual reason is that his soul did not want to come through this current vibration of where we are. Right. And his soul knew that things were imbalanced, and we had a whole conversation about it. I knew the day he passed, and I even said to him, hours after he passed, and without having confirmation from the hospital and my midwives, I said, it's okay, but promise me that you'll come back during a time where it's the right circumstance for you, me, this world. Yeah. And, I just move with my spiritual clarity on, the whys in this time. And, my family's healing every day. That's why people have been asking me lately, like, you've been off of social media for the last couple of months. It's like, I've been in an intense healing space. I don't believe in being all out there when I need to go within and, heal and sort of lick my wounds and make sure my partner's okay, make sure my family, my dad, my son who's 13, making sure he's okay, making sure everyone in the family, is okay, and including myself. And of course, Shay and some of my other girlfriends have been just nurturing and loving, and even my clients and my partners. I own multiple businesses. Of course I have Phoenix Effect. I'm, the VP and one of the partners for Acroma, but I'm also the director of project development for Burgess Services. And my teams have all been so supportive in making sure that I had the time to breathe as I went through this intense state of healing, because you never expect for certain things to happen. But
not at all. We were fully preparing for a baby. Yep. And I think that was one of the things too, is as this happened, the more women that started to come out and say it happened to me, like they were I had a baby, and then we talked about the real health crisis of Black women and
the disparities. The
disparities are real in the system.
Yeah.
And the conversation has been kind of hidden and shamed, and it's something that we need to do in order to get to a healing space, and it's so necessary.
Well, I can tell you this, Phoenix. We just pour libation and celebrate, and we dance. And the reason is because we don't have that scarcity approach. We don't come from a European, Western mindset. And as the Jolly Opalanga always taught us, the opposite of life is life.
Exactly.
And so with that being said, Ashe.
Yes, Ashe. And my son's spirit is so loud, and he has come through with so much clarity. He done snatched my edges back with some clarity and some realizations of things that I wasn't even aware of in our realm. And so he just went back into spirit until the right time, and I'm okay with that. This world is, the vibrations are a lot worse than what this physical manifestation that we are seeing. The vibrations of the planet right now are actually a lot worse with the mental state of the average human. So I was okay with that decision of my son's soul.
With that, Shay J, can you tell them about Chubby Curls? Educating the natural community one scalp at a time.
I think that this edge snatcher over here needs.
I'm gonna let the ladies just break down the Chubby Curls.
She said slip right through your fingers, because I got some Nigerian underneath this.
You know what? If you got those skinny curls, make them chubby. Educating the natural hair one scalp at a time. ChubbyCurls.com. And you know what I say to you gentlemen out there? If you have that dry chin beard stuff, I need you to juice it up, please. And thank you. Make sure we're educating our scalp, getting ourselves moisturized. And if you have those ashy elbows, you can even throw it on there too. Yes. ChubbyCurls.com. Make sure you go out and support our girl. And make sure we're trying to make sure we get this product national. We want this on every shelf nationally. Yeah. Something like the People's Pickles, how we're moving forward with those sweet and hot pickles. My favorite.
I want some now.
Like it. peoplespickles.com. And they are right now in Hope Tank. So go stop by Hope Tanks, which is really became a great community incubator for those of us with products, with placement. The Black Business Initiative will be having some things on the shelf soon in Hope Tanks. So go check out my girl Erica and what she's doing over there, and make sure we're supporting. It takes each and every one of us as a community to thrive and really to get to that next place in life. Like we're talking during this pandemic, not only have we seen the disparities, but we've also seen the power of coming together.
Yes.
We've also seen what it looks like when we all start reaching out and reaching in. And we've also, even right here at the Free Think Zone, this is why you go to brotherjeff.com, we've been able to keep artists going. We've been able to employ our artists to come in, to do full live bands, to give it to you virtually so you're still safer at home. But we've been able to mobilize because you go to brotherjeff.com and you donate. That's what Powered by the People looks like.
Big show tomorrow with Soul School, Shay J hosting, DJ Fedora. We're going to be at the Soiled Dove.
Okay.
There's only 50. There's only 50 tickets available.
That's it. This is like
it's only 49 tickets.
See, there's only 40. Well, now I think we're down to like less than 20 tickets.
There we go.
So we're only about 15 tickets now. So if you want to join us at the Soiled Dove, we're within the state regulations, the city regulations. There's social distancing. The venue holds 300. The regulations have truncated it down to 50. And that's why we have 50 tickets available. We're 10 feet away from the stage. And those who are not going to be able to attend in person, we're going to stream it live as a part of our summer live music, funk festivals, blues, jazz, reggae, everything we've been doing from the Free Think Zone. If you want to hang out with us tomorrow, you should probably let us know like right now or yesterday.
And if you sniffle, sneeze, cough, or anything, you may get jumped. So make sure that you do not come in there with nothing going on. Just
you're gonna be way away from my table anyway.
Right. Like, talk about it's allergies. There ain't no allergies.
Take all your allergy medicine before you come do us all a favor, because we don't want to look at you like that. I remember the other day I was in the elevator and I know I had this cough and I was like, I'd rather pass out than cough, because I didn't want everybody to look at me crazy.
Right.
So I was like, so I got out there. Phoenix, talk to me a little bit about, if we're moving forward in the space of like, okay, there's some people out there that say, should I still be renting or should I be looking for home ownership? And how can Acroma help me make home ownership a reality?
Yes.
How can you speak to that?
So I know there's been a lot of a push, or a big push about home ownership. And the truth is, home ownership is really not always for everyone. There's some transient people who they're going to live in this city for 2 years. They're trying to do this. They're trying to travel the world. They don't need to be bogged down with monthly payments of mortgage or trying to manage or rent or do any of these things. And they feel freer in that regard. If that's you, if you're that personality, don't feel guilty about not wanting to buy a home.
That's good.
It's okay. Like literally, it's okay when things fall apart. You will have less debt to deal with than the average American. So you can look at it from that point of view. However, as it pertains to community development, wealth development, generational wealth, and just passing things down to your children so your children are not inheriting what we call the black tax, you know?
Yeah. Make your J's and your chains, because that's nothing to pass on, guys.
Right, exactly. Gucci and Moochie and
right. You can't pass that down.
Those people don't care nothing about us. They care about our money. They've never cared anything about us. But that's a whole other conversation. That's a whole different conversation. The homeowner's dream is not far away.
Yeah.
So right here in Colorado, because Acroma was started here, and again, it's Acroma, ACHROMA.io. I will put it in the comments, ACHROMA.io. You can actually go to that website and start down the dream of home ownership if you have decided, you know what, I do want to purchase a home. And right now with the pandemic, this is actually a great time to purchase a home. You're going to get better deals than you would have even 6 months ago, because people are willing to negotiate because they don't know what's getting ready to happen with home ownership and with people having the ability to buy homes, right? We're looking at a second wave of them closing down parts of the country. And so right now, even within, now next 3 months, it would be a great time for you to go ahead ahead and purchase a home. And even a great time for you to go ahead and refinance. Let's say you want to have a little bit more cash and your mortgage bill is, your biggest bill, as I think it should be. Maybe you want to change that and you want to actually say, I want to pull the money out of my home. I want to, do some things to fix up my home to get a little bit more equity in my home. Right now is a perfect time to do that, because again, even with contractors and everything, you're going to get a better deal because folks need to work. And it's basically a way to financially take advantage of sort of this pandemic and this interesting space that we're in. But, it's something that we should take advantage of. Everybody else is taking advantage of everything else. Why aren't we taking advantage of it? So if you are thinking about purchasing a home, I would advise anybody to go to Acroma, to look at our system, to get started. And it won't even, just to get started and to look at it and see how everything works. It won't mess with your credit or ping anything. It's about you being informed of the fact that you can shop around right in this one system. And there's no way for anyone to discriminate against you. There's no way for like how a lot of these bigger banks say, hey, we have a we have an equal rights opportunity. We have da-da-da-da.
Absolutely.
But are y'all following it? Because anybody can write something down on paper, but what are you doing to follow that?
Absolutely.
And even the bigger banks right now will say, well, it's the algorithms, they make it to where things are still, racially bad. That's the conversation, the algorithms. Our system don't have no algorithms that are going to discriminate against you. It's literal blind lending. You get treated normal. And I hate to say that because it's so sad that we have to blind, but you get treated just like a white person would get treated. And we deserve that. Latinos deserve that. Black individuals deserve that. We deserve that. I don't know if I really could include Asians into that fold, because they're benefiting off of the economy and they're benefiting off of us in ways with their businesses in a lot of our communities.
Absolutely.
So I don't even know if I would even include them into the people who are constantly segregated against when it comes to financial viability. But also they support each other in their communities in a way to where they don't always have to depend on external funding too. So we have to get to their place. We have to get to that place too.
Absolutely. And when we talk about in-house funding, because I think that's something we need to talk about on a whole different episode, because it's such a big thing. We need to learn how the community come together, put the pot together, and not these random susus that are really not susus that you guys are calling susus, but we're not going to talk about that right now. However, as we look into that and we look at the housing crisis, and we have people that are saying, okay, well, maybe I am renting and I'm not ready to make that commitment. Can we talk a little bit about what it is like to have the investment property that you don't necessarily have to live in, and why that might be a solution if you're not ready to stay in one place, but you might need to do an investment property, and what does that look like for generational wealth?
Can I put everybody up on free game? Can this be free game Friday?
Free game Friday.
Free game Friday. Okay. There's some things that are going down around the country in inner city areas. Yes, Denver is still highly segregated, highly gentrified. St. Louis, South Chicago, in other cities, those are the two that I want to really highlight right now. You can actually go there and get a condo for $25,000. You can go there and buy investment property. I saw one on the internet in St. Louis today for $12,500.
You know, Jared Martin's been telling us that for a while. He's like, let's just go grab a school. It's going to be like $10,000 a person. What y'all waiting for? And we're like, and now
we're like a whole school.
Yeah, a whole school. We don't know, but now, we see.
So, and people still don't believe this. But because I have ears and eyes in South Chicago, because I'm a part of a major organization that's doing some astronomical change out there. I mean, that's a whole nother conversation. I don't want to even get into that. Gentrification is getting ready to happen in South Chicago.
Right.
And folks are like, why would they go in there? People are shooting up. Nah, you have multi-unit buildings there. You have quality brick, old construction homes that are solid to the bare bones. You have, Lakeshore Drive, the water right here, which is ports. Ports, where there's ports, there's money, there's wealth. You have all of this, and they've allowed the community to die. The banks have not invested into the people, into their businesses, into their homes. In places like Chicago, you can go to the bank, ask for money, and it's that way here too, but you could really go there and try to open up a business. They'll look at you upside your head. But if you were maybe Indian and go to that same bank, they would give you money to build a business in the black community. Absolutely. It's very overt racism. Here's a little bit more subversive. There's very, very overt. But if you are a black person who can afford to have an investment property, let's say you're renting here, but you're like, you know what, I do got a little extra change somewhere. I can get my parents to pull a little bit of money out of their home, maybe $50,000 out of their house or something. you can actually go there and get a full investment property, because in 5 years or less, that's going to be worth way more. So you have to think about that too. In Acroma, we're expanding nationally. We're going to be expanding to Illinois. That's one of our first states that we're going to be expanding into. And we have some deals and things we're working out there to actually help people buy out of these rent-to-own, contracts, which are so bad.
There's rent-to-own?
Rent-to-own is so bad because you're paying more for that property than you would if you got a regular loan. And if you default on 1 month, they can kick you out, and all the money, the thousands of dollars you put into that, are now gone.
Wow.
Give them some knowledge. Go
free
ahead.
game Friday. Free
game Friday. If you can help it, do not.
On next week. You done messed up my life.
You're so silly. If you can help it, do not do anything rent to own.
Not even rent a center, because I was gonna go get that couch. I was gonna get that rent to own house.
Don't do it.
That TV and rent to own, and that fly furniture.
Guess what?
Rent to own.
Guess what? That couch that you're buying from rent to own, that you're paying that $20 a week, when you're done paying it off, you're going to end up paying $8,000 for that couch. That retail
couch.
That retail MSRP for maybe $3,000. That wholesale was $700.
Yeah,
it's expensive to be poor.
Expensive.
Yes, it's expensive.
It's very expensive to be poor. So if you cannot, and that's the same thing with rent to own contracts.
Yeah.
So we're working on some deals to actually help individuals in certain states to get out of those as well. But if you're at a place where you actually do want to purchase, shop around your options and know that you have a business that's partially black owned, and that was created by a man who is of African descent and who has a black family.
Yeah.
Who said, I'm getting ready to do something different.
Absolutely.
Like,
and understanding how necessary this is. And I don't think we've ever thought about what does it look like to have blind lending? What does it look like to be represented by clearly my actions, what I've done, and not the color of my skin?
Yeah.
And it's sad that we have to break it down like this,
yes.
but it's necessary in order for us to get, the right type of percentages and to really play on any type of kind of similar field.
Yes.
We have to be afforded things like this, unfortunately.
Period. And then, this system can expand in the future to where it'll be blind employment. People, they can hire you without having all this access to back data that's not needed, like your race and your gender for hiring. So there's something, we're really trying to do this with the Acroma. We're really trying to help our people heal financially. Absolutely. And I was excited, like I said, when they came to me for this and when I went into partnership with them, because I'm about ownership. I'm about owning businesses. I'm about owning whatever we need to own. But I also know that, it's time to take advantage of certain things. And if you can refinance, and if you've been denied refinance at a Chase or something, there's probably a reason, a racial reason, a demographic reason that they will never tell you because they don't want to get sued again. But come to Acroma. And if you have a family member who's getting ready to buy, or you got somebody who's getting ready to, they want to go on contract for a home, come here. Come and support something that's really trying to set us free. We ain't been free yet. We still ain't free.
We're not free.
Man. And all we're really going to be free is if we can, create systems and do things for ourselves.
Phoenix always drops this jewels.
That's her thing.
As we say, she's dropped them. Pick them up if you want, and if you don't, we'll pick them up because they're recyclable.
Right.
like
the jewel
ownership. It's like ownership.
Yes.
That like, and
not rims and a Louis Vuitton bag. If you want to be flossy, you can be flossy, but know that does not build your self-worth nor your net worth.
Whoa.
Absolutely.
So
now we're not saying you can't have the cool stuff.
Yeah, if you want to be flossy, do your thing.
Priorities, my people, priorities, and understanding what that looks like. Because I think sometimes people think it's one or the other, but it can be both. But we have to really start thinking about ownership.
Well, sometimes I just generally say if it sits on your ass, it's probably not an asset.
Ooh, that's good. That's good. I'm gonna tell my son that's good.
Little jewel on the
well, because and I like with my son. You know my son Simbasser. He at the age of 12, he had more money in his savings account than I had at 25. And I was a whole married woman in a 3,000 square foot home and two cars and all this stuff. We had the jacuzzi in the back and the trampoline. Right. We had this life, right? My son still had at 12 more money in the savings.
Right.
It's embarrassing to say than I had at 25.
Wow.
But he's about his money. Mm-hmm. He like, can I get some new headshots? I need to do some more commercials. My money getting low. Exactly. He said that to me the other day.
Yeah.
He's about his money.
And he's about saving.
We need to raise our children to be about their money because that's, if we're going to survive, the black dollar matters.
Absolutely. What are the 3 steps that you can give people right now? And what I say, this is a season of pivoting. This is a season where we have to pivot because we're in a new norm. This is not
okay, we got to say something for the Black Boss Summit.
I know, right? Yeah, exactly. I can't tell you all this because the Black Boss Summit is coming up.
Yes.
September 12th, 13th. Oh, my God. When I tell you
speaking.
The virtual experience of your life, it is. I can't tell you too much yet. But when we talk about that pivot, what are 3 steps you can tell people right now in pivoting to set themselves up financially when it looks like ownership, when it looks like pivoting so they can be in a position to come to Acroma and be, and have their things in line? What are 3 steps that you can give people to set themselves up?
If they're renting now, like right now? Okay. My first step would be go to Rental Karma. I didn't think there's going to be a plug for Cullen's business, but they're a sister brother business to us.
Okay.
And he built the business for people of color, and he's not even a man of color.
Okay.
But his wife was.
We need real allies building systems that work for us. There
exactly.
we go. I like that.
So I would say go to rentalkarma.com, set up an account there. And if you've been renting and you have, let's say for the last 3 years, you've been renting somewhere or multiple places, they could contact your, put your information there. They'll contact your landlord, or they'll contact the Apple Pines Apartments, whatever you're at, and they will give them the information. It will go on your credit report. Now, if you was late on this month, that ain't gonna go on your credit report. Only if let's say if you've dealt with a recent eviction or something, okay, then maybe you don't want to use your rental history. But let's say you haven't, and let's say you paid mainly on time your rent and every single month. All of that will go on your credit report, and that will boost you up about 40 to 80 points just from doing that alone.
Wow.
So that's a good place to start. A second place would be, I don't necessarily believe in taking on debt that you really can't afford.
That's good.
And the average American family, when let's say you go into the suburbs, you see folks with the nice cars and nice, they got their house. The average American family is riddled in debt.
Yeah.
Buried in debt.
Absolutely.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars of student loan debt, credit card debt, all that. Don't spend your credit cards or don't spend money racking up debt on things that you can pay for in cash, like eating out and stuff. And if you can't afford to eat out in cash, don't go do it.
That's good.
Don't say, I'm gonna eat this burger now and I'll pay this burger back later.
Right. Just don't get the burger.
Yeah, and I think, and it's about
Whatever.
self-restraint in a sense. You know what I'm saying? It's about also knowing what you can afford. Stop trying to keep up with the Joneses of everybody else and what everybody else got going on. And we're the queens of that.
It's a black thing. Not you, but it's a black thing.
We're kings
because
of
we've
that.
That's what we had
that's
a systematic thing.
Yeah,
too.
and
we like shiny things.
Yes.
Yeah, we need to look
and
a certain way to
our
our
self-worth is not built in that.
Right.
You're the same person with or without those things. So why go into debt, which hinders your future? There's statistics about our generation, the millennials, who by the time we're 60 and 70, that most of us are not going to be able to retire. By the time we're 80, we're going to still be working. And then there's people who are never going to retire. They're going to die.
Yeah.
I was at work yesterday. Oh, she passed away. She came to work 2 days ago and we ain't seen her since. That's what they're looking at for our generation.
Absolutely.
So I would say also starting to learn how to save. Don't
talk about that enough in the black community.
Some people are uncomfortable with having an excess of money.
Yeah.
They feel antsy, like I got to do something. I got to put
too much is in that bank account.
Too much is I need
send
to
it over
spend.
to brotherjeff.com if you have just too much.
Right.
Well, we'll take some. It's not a big deal.
But it's almost like that thing of like people, if their life is going too good, they're like, what the hell is
something's got to fall apart right now. Right.
Yeah.
Because we've been building trauma. We've been raised in trauma. We don't know how to just.
Yes. And so I would say learning how to feel comfortable with things being okay. And part of being okay is setting yourself up to be okay financially and be okay in every aspect that you can. So if you can save even an extra $50 a week, do that. Put it to the side. Capital One even has an online thing where they they have a really high interest bearing savings. So you can put $25 in there and you're going to get, 10 cents on that $25. That's actually a lot. Because some banks you can have $5,000 in there. You ain't got nothing on that. So also, again, making sure your savings you're getting interest off of your savings.
That's a good one.
And most rich people know this, but somebody who has $1 million in their savings, they're getting $11,000 a month in interest. You can live off your interest.
Right.
Why you got to even go in there? I can't wait to be there. I personally cannot wait.
We're going to get it.
I can't wait to get there. You don't have to even go into your money. Your money's now working for you.
Your money should work for you. And that's the thing is when you get out of that poor mindset, your money works for you and you don't work for your money.
Exactly.
And I can't wait till we start turning that tide because there are some people we know that are successful individually. But like I say, if our community isn't successful, then no one is successful to me.
Exactly.
And the things that we're talking about, this is not just about a 1-2 quick fix thing. This is not about instant gratification, but this is about changing our entire community and doing it for the culture. It's necessary.
We call those people white flight type corporate Negroes who will be quick to go and spend.
Hold on. What kind of Negroes are? Because I just have an all purpose word. I just call them moist Negroes.
But that great moist.
But you got the run that again.
White flight. We know what white flight is.
I gotta go. Yep. Moving on up.
White flight type corporate Negroes. They get their corporate job. They go buy a house way out somewhere, and they have completely left the community in desecration.
Yeah, they made it.
Yeah, we have to start.
And then when
to
they
buy,
vote and they do things, it's not even in our favor because they have no idea about this anymore. They totally forgot about what this is like.
And I yell at my athlete clients about this very thing. Because basically you've left, so you've taken a talent, you've taken a resource that could be there and all that, and now y'all complaining about the murder rate and the poverty in the hood when they not putting, the system's not putting money in our hood, but you just took resources out the hood.
Right. And not only that, the ones that are being impacted by this systemic injustice, racism, oppression, terrorism, etc. That's still the important Negroes. Niece, nephew, cousin, mommy, because the only one who left the hood was them. They only let one or two out.
Right.
Your whole family was still here. So when you come back to visit your mama and big mama and all that, you still being reminded of all of the things that you could do to help, aid, and assist as you leave and travel that way.
That way. Yeah. And as I tell people, I love, the Jay-Z's and the Beyoncé's, and I respect all those, like Phoenix said, a lot of these people we have to work with and we do a lot of things with, but we need some more of the Huey P. Newtons, and we need to have,
the Stokely Carmichaels.
Exactly.
Well, I know him as Kwame Ture, but we need
that.
more of that. And absolutely. I think our generation is going to be the one that did it, because the previous generation, unfortunately, they didn't have the technology, the means to create their own systems. Right. We are starting to do that. Chroma is one of those systems. We asked for a seat at the table only to be starved because we didn't look at the whole picture. Yeah. So today, as activists and people who consider themselves activists, as a person of color, as a Black, Indigenous, and person of color, you need to also look at where are we leaving stones unturned. That's good. Because the previous generation doing the civil rights, but they left a lot of stones unturned, which is why we are worse off today than we were back then.
Phoenix, you have an incredible roster of folks that you represent, and I remember you were limiting, like, you're like, I'm okay, I got to cut back, I got a few folks I could work with. If people want to reach you, are you still taking on folks, or are you kind of like, where are you at? Because I know folks in the free think zone is like, that's who I've been looking for.
That's who I need to make it go to the next level.
Well, folks think I'm my project. I'm like, I'm not your player.
Yours, but go ahead, go ahead and give them whatever.
So our company does the Phoenix Effect. It does do like web development, branding, public relations. We get people's voice and stories out where it needs to be. And we've worked with companies locally, nationally, and internationally. Australia, Africa. One of my biggest clients is in Zimbabwe. We have we're helping build and create money and all this and passageways for that organization that has 12 schools serving 38,000 young black men and women. Yeah. And so there's a lot that our company does, but again, you have to come with something purposeful, right? I do work with regular businesses and helping them build their websites and do all of that, but I like to work with businesses who are doing something forward thinking and pushing the collective forward. Like I have a client who they are, really focusing on being a supplier for people who make t-shirts and all that. They're not just a t-shirt company really with their own brand. Yeah. They're actually like, hey, we're going to supply y'all and do the printing, press, and things for y'all, where y'all don't have to go to a white company out here. You come directly to us
Don't
here.
move far off of that, because I think that's something that we talk about a lot. Buy black, buy black, buy black. Right. But there's so much more to it, and we have to build black, and those back end supports. Yes. How important is that to our real trajectory of wealth, and not just being at the forefront of we are the sellers and we have this? What about being the suppliers? How important is that to our wealth? My
God, girl, snatch the edges back.
Supply chain.
Right. No, that is extremely important. I know some people who went to China themselves. Yeah. I remember this sister, she's in Virginia, has a company. She was like, y'all want to go to China with me? We about to go straight to the hair suppliers. We know people buying hair all over the world. Right. But why are we just the sellers here, retail? Let's go there. And she went there, and she's now making a crazy amount of money because she went straight to the supplier. That's with every industry. That's with the drug industry. Right. Like, let's keep it real. You go straight to the supplier.
Cut that middleman out.
Pablo Escobar went, like, he was like, I'm the supplier, and he ran his whole supply chain. That's how he was making over $30 billion a year. Right. we have to be a part of every piece of it and not just the end user. Like I said, everybody's making money from blacks. We're the end user. And granted, my company, we have a very diverse clientele base.
Absolutely.
And my clients know also what I'm about. They know that I'm a social entrepreneur, that I'm a humanist, but I am a black woman first.
Absolutely.
And they know that, I have Jewish clients. Some of the bigger, Jewish individuals in this city are some of my clients. I have Jewish, I have some Asians, I've had Arabic, I've had black, and I've had, regular European. I don't know if that's the term, regular European, but Europeans. And so, but again, they've all had something similar in common, which is they're trying to pull the collective forward. I don't care that you may be of a different race for me to work with you, but you can't be doing something that's harming humans or my people. Like, you can't be. We're not having that.
That's what alignment and purpose looks like.
Yeah, but if people want to work with me, phoenixeffect.com. We got a contact form in there you can fill out, or even, and it's Phoenix, PHOENIX, effect, AFFECT.com. Or my direct email is PHX, so like short for Phoenix, PHX at phoenixeffect.com.
Free Game Friday.
Free Game Friday.
And we're getting ready to I'm getting ready to launch a system in September called Fly with Phoenix. It's going to be a podcast digital series, and we're going to be giving free game stuff on business and all types of things all the time. And I already have celebrities who've committed to doing interviews. I'm of course going to interview you too. And we're trying to get these celebrities and individuals out here who have made it to show you some of the passageways of how to get things done.
Yeah.
We're trying to educate the public in the best way possible. So Fly with Phoenix TV will actually be happening in September, right after this huge event I have with some big authors in September, and after the Black Business, the Black Boss Summit.
Yep.
And so I'm excited. It's about getting the news out. And don't be afraid. Whatever you're trying to do in business, man, don't be afraid to come forward. Don't be afraid.
Everybody, and I just like to push that, is that everybody had to start from somewhere.
Yes.
And remember that you're not just, and the thing is, if you had to start all over, guess what? You're starting from a different place, because now you're starting with knowledge of what didn't work before.
Right.
And so don't be afraid to start where you're at. And that's the beautiful thing about being around people that are going to sharpen your skills and sharpen your iron, and having people around you that are going to push you to a different place. And too long we've been in the same place, and you don't have people that check you. And here at the Free Think Zone, I'm going to give you this for Free Think Friday. Whoever you're around, if you're around 4 people, you're the 5th. So if you're around 4 broke people, you're the 5th broke person. Woo! If you're about 4 uneducated, you're the 5th uneducated person. If you're around 4 people that are doing it, you're the 5th person that's going to do it big. Woo! So I'm going to say, change your circle and change your life. And it's a real thing, and I've watched it happen, and I watched the people that I keep around me, we're about progress, and we're not afraid to say, well, that wasn't the best idea, but let's figure out how now to sharpen this and where to go.
And who texting you? Who texting you and getting your attention all the time?
Who?
My last text message, literally before we got here, was of somebody who is one of the biggest black voices in the United States.
Exactly.
Like, he is hands down, goes in on people about black women and everything else.
Exactly.
He texts me, what you getting ready to do? I sent him the flyer. Oh, I'm getting ready to do this thing.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Who
and they keep you accountable.
Who
they keep you accountable
you?
For the things you say you want to do, to the things you say you're going to do. That keeps it accountable. And we have to start wrapping our arms around each other in accountability, because the worst thing you can do is be a crutch for someone to stay exactly where they're at.
Right.
And that's the thing, is I want to help you guys get mobilized, because I believe together as a community we can move forward. So don't let the circumstances we're dealing with right now be your end all be all. Find someone that keeps you accountable, keeps you moving forward.
Exactly.
And let's build these things like systems like Acroma that offers us a way out and a way up and a way to build generational wealth.
Yes, because that's where it's at. Our babies don't need to start all over.
And they don't need to start all over. Phoenix, any last words to our free thinkers?
And
tell them where they can find Acroma at, so that they can reach out to
Acroma, ACHROMA, ACHROMA.io, not .com, .io. And go and look at it. You'll see. And even follow us at Acroma Mortgage on Instagram, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on Facebook. Find us. We're here to help y'all. We're here to make sure that we get a fair and fighting chance. It's the fairest and safest way to get your mortgage or your refinance. So, thank you. That's all I have to say, y'all. Thank y'all for hearing me and listening. And I shared something very personal, but you know what? It's okay.
This is what community
looks like. Thank you, guys.
Like. Yeah. I love it. This is what community looks like. And those of you that are tuning in, I hope you went to brotherjeff.com and gave any amount of donation. Remember, we are powered by the people. So let's make sure, the best nation, donation. Free thinkers. I think my guy John Bowman is coming up soon. 3:30. He'll be on the ones and twos, giving you news you need to know.
Yes.
It's your girl Shay J with the Free Think Zone, the Brother Jeff Network. Remember, community, if you go down swinging. You might score a knockout. Rumble on, community. Rumble on. Thank you for tuning in. Peace and love.
Peace and love.
Okay.
hell's race. I ain't never seen a cop car and said I felt safe. And I know I ain't alone. They tell us that they serve and protect. They put a knee against the curb on our necks. You act like you don't see a man bleed and say that he can't breathe. Them unheard voices gon' turn to a stampede. I've seen people screaming about the
this is
loot and
hot.
riots, but when the cops come and shoot,
I love the beat.
And so we need to hear their names in the streets for justice
going
to
back
lack
in
of. And all them cops need to be tried by a black judge and a black jury. Cause them badges come with entitlement, killing us in the street and they getting less time than Michael Vick. We got to prevail. At times being black in America's like being a cop that's locked in the jail with the people that he